Alright, welcome back to another objectively correct tier list. Again, my opinions are objectively correct. You're free to disagree, but you're wrong. This time around, we're coming back to one of my favorite video games, Minecraft. And we're looking at the community votes. And this is not just the mob votes, because there was also the biome vote in 2018. And so there were a few mobs that were to be added there. And yeah, let's start off with the very first mob from the very first mob vote, the barnacle. The barnacle was, I think, a really solid concept for a mob. It was just an undersea monster that would kind of stalk the player and then pull them underwater. I think that could have... I understand why some people didn't vote for it, but I think that could have been like a really interesting concept for a mob. Yeah. The Phantom, on the other hand, has been a disaster. I understand why people voted for it, because at the time we didn't have any real flying mobs other than bats. So I understand why people voted for it. Like at the time, all of the mobs, except for the bat, were like walking mobs. And like, I think, didn't we have fish too? I don't know. It's timelines. It's been a while. And I think it can still be saved. I think the Phantom can be saved. I think if we get, say, an end update where we get a whole bunch of new biomes added, I think one of them could be something like the Phantom Caverns, where phantoms were moved from the overworld to these caverns that were like kind of like a mountain with like mine shafts almost in them, like how mine shafts are generated, but something like that where you go in and you're trying to get to the bottom of it to get some resource or whatever, some new ore, who knows. And along the way, there's maybe some rooms, some like larger open rooms where, there'd be like phantoms hanging from the ceiling. I think that could be like a way to save them to where like people don't hate them as much. Yeah. The Great Hunger. The Great Hunger is absolutely the one that I wished had won, because at the time there were no grindstones, so there was no way to really strip an enchantment off of an item. Um, Actually, I can't remember if you could combine items at the time. Like, you could like put one item with another and like use that to repair it. I don't know if there was any mechanic for doing that. But yeah, like the idea was like you would feed it an enchanted item, it would strip the enchantment off, and I think it was supposed to store the XP so that you could. I can't remember if you had to kill it to get the XP back, or if you could like interact with it without an item in your hand to get the XP back. But yeah, like I think it could have been a really interesting way to change up enchanting. So no, I think it was a really really solid concept. And the wildfire, on the other hand, it's nah, not as great. I think it's a bit worse than the barnacle. Um, it's just supposed to be like a companion mob, which the idea of a companion mob's interesting. That's fine. That they could add that to like really a lot of mobs in Minecraft, and that could like really change some dynamics. But it's just kind of like a blaze with shields and a shockwave attack. So I don't know. Eh. The meerkat. So the meerkat was a part of the biome vote, and it's supposed to be in the desert, right? Yeah, I think it was the desert. Yeah. Yeah, because the desert biome, while the desert did eventually get added, the meerkat did not. Um, Big sad, but I think it was an alright mob. Just something you'd come across in the desert, and oh look, a meerkat. Yeah, maybe it would like hide in little holes or something. Yeah. The fox, of course, foxes are little cuties. They're a fun thing to, when you're walking through a taiga, you go, oh, look, a fox. And, run after it and try and catch it or try and sneak up on it while it's sleeping. Yeah. Termites, on the other hand, I think were absolute D tier. We didn't really get a good look at them or like kind of what they would do, but I have a feeling it would have been along the lines of like infestation, where it would start to infest wood and eventually break it, maybe. That would have been terrible. Yeah. I think that would have been a terrible addition. Now, if it was just something that was like on a block or something, then like, okay, whatever. But I think it probably would have been moved in the direction of like infesting wood. Yeah. Ostrich. So the ostrich, I think, is another one kind of like the meerkat. It just would have been neat. I think that was supposed to go in the savannah, along with termites. And it's just a neat mob. It was supposed to be like it would walk around and like if it got scared, it would like stick its head in the ground. But yeah, I don't know. It's an okay mob. And the vulture. So the vulture was another biome mob, I believe. It was supposed to go in the Badlands. And yeah, no, I think it's an okay idea for a mob. Um, I think that you could do some like really interesting stuff with the AI. Maybe like it would just kind of follow you around for a while, or um, like maybe if you got like really really low on hunger, it would turn hostile, or when you like killed a mob, maybe it would try and grab any meat, like it would swoop in real fast and try to grab like pick up meat before you could. Yeah, I don't know. You could do a bunch of interesting stuff with like a vulture. Yeah. Frogs. Frogs, on the other hand, are the goat. They're the one of the best mobs that have been added to the game. Um, Not just because of like adding additional mechanics, with taking the tadpoles to different biomes to get them to raise the frog with different skin colors, and then getting different colors of frog lights out of them. But frog lights themselves are an amazing way to have like a passive farm that you don't really have to do anything to get a whole lot of hidden lighting blocks. Because before that, it would have been sea lanterns, and you still need to like craft those. Other than that, it would have been like maybe shroom lights, I guess. But shroom lights are just, it's a little bit more complex to farm. You gotta use like TNT farming and stuff like that. And I don't know. I think frogs and frog lights were an excellent addition to the game. Probably one of the best neutral mobs added. Yeah. Plus, they're just really cool to have around your base. Grab a few frogs, name tag them, and just have them hanging out. Or, like, if you have a mega build, you could make, like, a paludarium or, like, a zoo. You could build, like, a giant paludarium where it's, like, half underwater, half above water. Yeah. Goats are. I would say they're also S tier for a mob. Like, sure, there's a mild nuisance if you're just kind of like passing through and they headbutt you, but the addition of goat horns, really good. You get a really fun thing to try and collect a whole bunch of them, and you get your little tutor. Um, but also the screaming goats, funny. Bringing back the screaming goat memes. Um, Also, real again, not vanilla. This is a mod where you get the custom goat horn plugins, and you can add your own custom voice packs to an SMP. I think that makes a really good addition. You can play all kind of pranks with them. But nah, I think overall goats are a great mob. Mooblooms, on the other hand, the mob themselves is just kind of okay. It's just another like passive neutral mob, kind of like the mushroom. Okay, but having played with Friends and Foes, the Friends and Foes mod, which adds a whole bunch of these, the failed mob vote mobs into the game, they're really nice to just have in the background in like a cottage core build. You got your cottage out in the flower forests. Just having like a pen of moo blooms, like just like I know, really adds to the atmosphere. Yeah, yeah, I think it would have been a really nice addition. I still think they should start adding some of these mobs as well. Yeah, yeah, I think they should do like every update, add like at least one or two of these mobs in. Yeah. The Iceologer is, I'd say it's a solid idea. Don't know how well it would be implemented, but it's at least a solid idea. Maybe you could make it like a mini boss, kind of like the Wither. Um, And yeah, it kind of, I think it was a good idea to kind of break up the monotony of just ice biomes. Ice biomes are pretty boring. They really are. They're very dull in color and they're very like monocolor. They're very like monochromatic that in those biomes, especially if you get a really big one. There's just not a lot of color in the area, and I think whatever you can do to kind of like change that up with like additional mobs, um, I think I would really benefit from it. Yeah. Glow squid. My hot take is I don't really care about glow squid. I don't really care. Like, sure, the glow ink sacks, but you could get rid of the glow squid and replace it with like, 4 glowberries make glow ink, and I wouldn't care. Yeah. Of course, I don't see them removing any mob that's in the game. Like, despite the fact that I think there are mobs that should be trimmed out of the game, but yeah, I don't see them actually removing mobs from the game uh, anytime in the future. The glare. Yeah. Yeah, the glare. I think the concept is all right. I don't know how well it would work in execution, where it's like a mob that would spawn in the dark, and I think it had like a little bit of light emission or something, and it would seek out areas where mobs were able to spawn and would start growling to let you know to put down a torch there. Um, I don't know how well that would work in practice, but it's an interesting concept. Yeah. The alley. The alley, I was never a fan of. Um, eh. I never really use them. I don't breed them. I don't make farms with them. I don't make storage systems with them. They're just kind of there. Meh. Now the copper golem. The copper golem is the biggest sad because I really wanted the copper golem to win. A mob that could randomly interact with redstone is an amazing concept because I think it would really revolutionize like compact randomizers. You could make some really, really complex randomizers very simple with just a copper golem in a box with a couple of buttons. Um, yeah, and you could also use that for like really long delay randomized redstone pulses. So like I'm thinking Mumbo Jumbo's the button, like the redstone machine where it was like a really long delay on a bunch of hopper clocks, where it would like gradually count up and then you push the button, it would reset, and it would spit out a block based on like how far it had gone up. Um, I think you could do something like that very simply with just like 2 copper golems, maybe even 3 copper golems with an and gate. Yeah, like 3 copper golems and an and gate, and you could get these really long delay redstone pulses. Where if they like say they all had to hit like the north button at roughly the same time, you get these really insanely long delay random redstone pulses. I think you could do some really interesting things with the copper golems, and I was real sad that they didn't win. Yeah. The sniffer. I never really cared much for the sniffer. I had a sniffer farm one time, and I'll probably never make another one. Um, they're not like a bad mob. They're not deserving of D tier, but they're just not very useful for me. Not very interesting. It was one of those things where they added it in an update. I did the update content just to see what it was like, and I'll probably never work with him again ever. The rascal. The rascal, I think, is kind of like the glare in that I don't know how well it would work in practice. Like, it spawns in caves, and you gotta find it multiple times, and then it'll like give you an item. Eh, I don't know. I don't know how well it would work in practice, but it's an okay concept. I think it's all right. Yeah. The tough golem. That's another one. I think the concept may have been lacking a little because it's kind of like just a golem that's an almost like an armor stand, I guess, that you can have hold items. So like the usefulness for that, I don't know. Maybe if you're on a really big SMP, you could have them like outside of your shops, kind of like holding the item. Maybe, or you could have them like in a museum, like it's holding your first pickaxe or your first suit of armor or something. Yeah, I don't know. I think just the base concept is a little lacking. I think it needed a little bit of work. Hmm. The crab. The crab is the one that I wish had won this mob vote the most. And not because of the item. The crab claw I probably would have never used, but I think the next logical step after having the crab would be like Palm Beaches, which is despite the fact they added, say, like the taiga, the desert, the badlands, all that, they never added like the Palm Beach, which was supposed to be. I think that was a part of the mob vote or not, or the biome vote was a beach, right? Wasn't it? I think no. I think it was in the desert. We were supposed to get palm trees and oases. Yeah, so that never really got added. But I think that would be like the next logical step. So that's why I was kind of hoping it would win. So we could have palm trees, coconuts, all that good stuff. I've been wanting those in the game for years now. The armadillo. The armadillo is kind of like the sniffer in that I don't really use it. I don't really have a lot of wolves. I don't do that. That's not my play style. Where I just have a pack of wolves with you, where you use like the wolf armor. So I don't really need the scutes for anything. But I also don't really go around the savannah much. The only time I'm really in the savannah is to either get like acacia saplings or if I need to find like the Savannah Highland, is it? Where llamas spawn. Like I need to go fetch a llama or something. Yeah, and I'm never really around the savannah much. I don't like really building in it. And the emperor penguin is, I'd say, a solid mob. Yeah, a solid mob. Kind of like the isolager. I think it would be nice to kind of break up the monotony of the ice biomes a bit. They're just kind of boring. It's like you occasionally see a polar bear, but it's mostly just like that lightish blue and maybe the occasional white from snow. Eh. Yeah, I think having like a flock of penguins coming by, it would be neat to see every once in a while. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. These have been my objectively correct opinions. You're free to disagree, but you're wrong. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.